One of the phrases that's really stood out for me during the lockdown and has come up time and time again, and I mentioned it on Wednesday when we did the session as well, was that people will remember how you treated them during the lockdown. And I think that that was reinforced by what Francesca just said. Uh, but I've also heard people talk about being too busy to really focus on professional relationships. Now, I hear that all the time. It's the biggest challenge that my clients face. But the two don't quite balance out, because if you get too engrossed in the transactional nature of business and you forget the relational element of it, then everything becomes harder for you and actually takes more time. And particularly right now, if you're not invested in those relationships, then people are going to notice it and pick up. One of the key things I talked about on Wednesday in the longer session was the impact you have on other people is magnified because their sensitivities are heightened with everything else that they have to worry about at the moment. So I think that that's a key point just to flag up. What I wanted to do, thank you for sharing the spider diagram and the poll results. I just wanted to pick up on the outliers, as you said, one from each of the areas. With building professional relationships, you picked up on the high score for having professional relationships that are strong professional relationships with people who are similar to you. Now, that's actually a little misleading question, because it's not necessarily a strength to have a network of people who are just like you, and particularly at times like this. I strongly recommend Matthew Syed's recent book, Rebel Ideas, which is all about the power of cognitive diversity. And if you're trying to find a way through uncertain times, it's your network, it's the professional relationships you have that can feed new and innovative ideas to you. And if you only surround yourself with people who are surrounded by similar people, who think in a similar way, who are educated in a similar way, who live in a similar bubble, and we keep hearing this terminology bubble, then you're going to get fed the same ideas all the time. So I would actually challenge that high score and say that you should perhaps look to reverse it and look to expand networks in industries, sectors with people who think differently, to breathe some new ideas in. Phil Jones, who's the managing director of Brother UK, said to me, a great leader needs to inhale new ideas from outside their business so that they can breathe them back into the business. And I thought that was a wonderful way of putting it. On nurturing professional relationships, you had particularly high score in terms of staying in touch with clients. And my challenge to you is this: if you've scored your teams highly for staying in touch with clients because they have to reach out to them and they have to have conversations about the transactions they're working on, that doesn't help professional relationships. I mean, it doesn't hinder them. If clients feel ignored, that's a challenge, but it doesn't elevate them. Francesca talked a lot about different types of conversation, and nurturing professional relationships means engaging with people when you don't need to find out how they are. Not focus on what you need from them or what they have to know from you, but actually personally. I reached out to one of my suppliers yesterday and just said, how are you guys doing? And their instant response was, this is what's happening, this is where we are, and we're working on your project. And my reply was, look, I didn't reach out for that. I know I'm not expecting you to deliver right now because you can't operate, but I just wanted to see how you are. And I wanted to reinforce that point for them. And then the third and perhaps the most important thing were the low scores on the willingness to ask for help. I presented on Wednesday morning for business leaders in Singapore, and I ran a word cloud poll. So I asked people to type in words that sprang to mind, how they feel when it came to asking for help. And the most common responses were all negative: uncomfortable, awkward, nervous, unsure. The most positive of the primary responses was hopeful. And even that isn't that positive. Now, these were business leaders. If leaders feel awkward about asking for help, then how do your teams feel? And if that's cascading down your organization, where are people asking for advice, insight, new ideas, introductions, referrals? And if people are frightened to do that, how's that going to be impacting the firm as a whole? So it's really important to create an environment where people are encouraged to build the right relationships, nurture them so that they are strong, and then leverage them so that they can ask. You're looking for a network of people who are in a position to help you, who want to help you, and then who know how to help you and when you need help. And that has to be absolutely key.